Coming up, a terrible accident or an act of terror. A Russian airliner crashes in the mountains of Egypt. Experts are now trying to figure out what happened. We'll break it down after the break.
And a big day ahead for the Commonwealth voters head to the polls tomorrow in Virginia. Control of the state Senate and Governor Terry McAuliffe's legacy is at stake. District Wire News starts right now.
Good afternoon, I'm Emilie Ikeda.
And I'm Emilie Jeffers. We're glad to have you with us.
We begin today with news out of Egypt, where an airliner crashed over the weekend, killing all on board. The investigation is still underway, but some aviation officials are concerned terrorism may be to blame. The Russian-operated airline crash comes just weeks after Russia began a ground offensive in Syria. Our reporter Trey Yingst is in the studio to take you through what we know so far. Trey?
Thanks, Emily. On Saturday, 224 people died in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula when a passenger jet actually crashed. Now, initially, Egyptian officials believed that this could have been caused due to a mechanical error or maybe simply a human error. But there's a lot of confusion now because Russian officials are on the scene and they're saying that they have ruled out both of those causes for the accident and maybe linking this accident to terror. So I want to take you through basically a timeline of what we know so far. So at 5:51 a.m. local time on Saturday, a Russian-operated Metrojet took off from Sharm el-Sheikh Airport, which is in the southern part of the Sinai Peninsula. At 6:01, the plane was at 20,000 feet. It was flying at what it was approaching cruising altitude, and that was right to the west of the Jordanian border. At 6:13 a.m. local time, this is when air traffic control lost contact with the jet. And that is at the point that it crashed. So officials on the ground are trying to figure out exactly what happened going through the wreckage. The airliner was headed for St. Petersburg, Russia. And when we're looking at the potential causes here, there are a few ISIS affiliates that are located in the Sinai Peninsula that could be to blame for this crash. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared Sunday a national day of mourning because most of the citizens on board the flight were Russian. Back to you, and we'll be sure to keep you updated as we receive more information. Thanks, Emily.
As the number of campus shootings increases across the U.S., protesters in Washington are fighting for gun control legislation. Farah Saunders has more on this story.
More than 50 campus shootings have occurred this year in the U.S., leaving more than 30 dead and 50 injured. Gun law advocate group We the People for Sensible Gun Laws protest in front of the White House, seeking to spread awareness on gun control.
We have had 1.5 million deaths to gun violence in this nation. That is more than all of the people killed in war since our nation was created.
Some citizens believe using guns isn't necessary to feel safe.
I don't feel like I need one to be protected, and I live in one of the most dangerous cities in America, Baltimore, Maryland.
Citizens are saying gun control should be reviewed on all levels, starting with local communities to addressing it as a national issue. Owning guns can lead to a higher rate of homicides and suicides. As a result, citizens believe there should be several procedures taken to own a gun.
I think we need to look at background checks, first of all, make it much more a process like one would go through for getting a driver's license. There should be licenses for gun ownership, and people should take it that seriously.
Though the discussion on gun control continues, citizens are questioning, should the president be the one to take action?
If the president could do something, I feel like he already would have done it, right? Because, I mean, this president came into office with a lot of eggs on his plate, a lot of goals. A lot of that stuff has been accomplished now. But I don't feel like guns are something that is really high on the priority list, unfortunately, and people are getting killed all the time.
Protesters will continue to fight every Monday in hopes that new gun control laws are implemented and enforced. Farah Saunders, District Wire News, Washington.
Many are mourning the death of Fred Thompson, former senator, actor, and presidential candidate. Thompson died on Sunday at 73 years old after a return of lymphoma. He had an unusual career in the public eye, moving between the political and entertainment spotlight. He left his role on Law & Order to run for the Republican presidential nominee in 2008. Before that, he had served as a senator from Tennessee and more recently as a spokesman for several companies.
Newly elected Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, appeared on all 5 major Sunday talk shows. In his first move as Speaker, Ryan talks about how he would not work with Obama on immigration reform, which would push the policy to this on 2017. Ryan said that the president cannot be trusted on the issue.
I don't think we can trust the president on this issue.
So you
he tried to go
you're
around
taking it
Congress
off
with
the
executive order. Absolutely. The president has proven himself untrustworthy on this issue because he tried to unilaterally rewrite the law himself. Presidents don't write laws. Congress does.
White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said there is a source of deep disappointment on the stance that the new speaker is taking, and conservative Republicans are praising his statement, calling the president's, quote, lawless.
French train hero Spencer Stone's promotion goes into effect this month as he becomes a staff sergeant. The ceremony was held yesterday at Travis Air Force Base in Sacramento, where he was promoted 2 ranks. Stone and 2 friends, Army Specialist Alex Galartos and Anthony Sadler, entered international spotlight after thwarting a gunman from killing passengers on a French train in August. Stone suffered severe wounds from the altercation and was awarded a Purple Heart and Airman's Medal. He also recently received multiple stab wounds after a fight broke out on October 8th at a Sacramento bar. Police are still looking for the 2 suspects.
Breaking news, the Vatican announces the arrest of 2 people suspected of leaking confidential information to the media. The suspects include a Monsignor employed by the Vatican and a PR woman who were interrogated over the weekend. The investigation began several months ago in the first few months of Pope Francis's papacy. A law was enacted which said one must keep in mind that the leaking of confidential info is a crime.
And China is getting into the aircraft production industry. In a massive unveiling this weekend, the nation unveiled the C919, the first homegrown large airliner ever produced in China. It will directly compete with offerings from Boeing and Airbus, who have dominated the industry in recent years. However, the aircraft's unveiling was complicated by the fact that the FAA has yet to certify the aircraft, which heavily restricts its export market. Industry experts are contesting the claim that the C919 is organically Chinese, as many components are made in France and the United States.
A war-torn country is about to experience danger of a different kind as a cyclone barrels toward Yemen. Tropical storm Shapala is a Category 1 hurricane and is the second strongest storm ever recorded in the Arabian Sea. The storm is expected to bring 2 to 3 times the amount of annual rainfall, which will cause massive flooding and debris flow. Cyclone Shapala will hit late tonight and into the morning.
Knights and dames will no longer be appointed in Australia. The Prime Minister of Australia, Malcolm Turnbull, says appointing knights and dames is no longer appropriate in the modern honours system, and that the titles are no longer relevant. The Queen of England has agreed to this decision, but this new change will not affect those who have already been appointed to those titles.
Coming up, a long election campaign ends tomorrow in Virginia. Control of the state Senate hangs in the balance. We'll break it down after the break.
And the Kansas City Royals won their first World Series in 30 years last night. More when we return. Stay tuned.